So, cheers.
Cheers.
So, welcome to this beginner series of workshops that are going to be taking place for free on YouTube for you guys. Today we've got my lovely dearest friend Shani here, who is joining us, and we're going to make a pair of silver beginner earrings. So, have you got much experience making jewelry?
Not at all.
Not at all.
I mean, I think I kind of helped you with these.
Yeah, I think you made one, we did one ring together, if I remember correctly, a few years ago.
But other than that, no.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, so if she can do it, you can do it. So I'm literally going to guide her through step by step and show her exactly how to do it. And it's going to be a bit more of a longer form video so you can follow along.
The beginner's course is completely free, but if you feel like you got a lot of value from it, you can always go to the link below and contribute whatever you feel you'd like to support Megan's business.
Thank you. Yes, completely up to you though. So if you would, I'd be more than happy though. Anyway, shall we get making some earrings?
Yes.
So, right, let's make ourselves comfy here. So as this is your first time doing earrings, I would highly recommend sticking to like more regular shapes, so with lines. So have some fun on the paper and just come up with some ideas. So
I guess just come up with
some ideas and then we'll go from there. So yeah, just have fun playing with that.
Well, I could like some...
So try and avoid curves.
Okay.
So like literally like squares,
Something more
triangles,
simple.
rectangles. Like maybe I'll draw, let me show you kind of like, so I'm gonna give you a piece of silver, kind of like this shape. So if you wanna maybe like cut it down there and you wanna do something like that, or you wanna like change the angles there, just anything that's quite angular basically. So just have fun kind of playing with that and then we'll find a piece of silver that works for you. Yeah, just keep them quite simple for your first time because I've made the mistake in the past of like letting people do like more rounded shapes, but when you still new using the saw, then it can be quite complicated turning and then it never ends up looking perfect and then it's not as satisfying with a pair of earrings in the end. So straight lines are a lot easier and you learn like really good skills with them as well because yeah, we'll straighten them up afterwards and that. So play around with that and when you're happy with something, then we can turn them into
Do we get
earrings.
to choose what size they're going to be?
Yes. Yes. I'm going to have some tea while you do some drawing. No pressure either. Just take your time.
Just trying to think.
So while you're doing that, I'm going to have a look at my silver thing. Find some silver for you. So in terms of like what's silver and like knowing what to use, it's always a good idea to look at the shape and the design of the piece, and then if it is quite thin or delicate, then choose a thicker piece of silver sheet to work from. But if it's quite like solid looking, then it's okay to go for something a little thinner. For these kind of earrings, what we're looking at here, we are going to go for either 0.5 mil or 0.6 mil. So I'm just going to check what I've got in here. I think I have some 0.5, which will be good. Where is it? There it is. Before I left London, I bought a nice big fat piece because I use this one a lot. So we can crack into that. Right, so out of these ones, which ones are you kind of leaning more towards?
So I quite like these and maybe that one because I want something a little bit more delicate, but also quite simple.
Sounds good. So how about like what we can do is, because instead of trying to cut this curved shape, we can cut this angular shape and then when we're filing, we can round those edges a little bit if we want to, if you feel like you want to add that to it. But yeah, let's start off with this as the kind of, so then you're cutting straight, but then yeah, that's not too hectic, like it's not like a super round. So I think that's doable to add that if we want.
Right.
Awesome. So in terms of size though, what are you thinking? Are those are quite small? Do you want them quite small or do you want to like maybe draw it again, like the final one?
The actual size.
With the actual size, so we can kind of have a look at that.
Let's see.
And if you want to use the ruler as well, actually, it's probably a good idea. To just kind of like measure it as well.
I'm not really sure like actually how big I want them to be. Maybe.
Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Let's check the measurements of this. So if you want to just like measure your lines and just mark out the different, the length of this, and then your width across here. Obviously we're just going to join that with a gentle curve. And then we can transfer that onto the metal.
So that one's 2.5.
Lovely.
And then that one is 2.
Perfect.
And then this is about 1 centimeter.
Yeah, that'll do. Great. 1 centimeter. Perfect. So that's across there. So when we are, as Sean's obviously this is the first time she's doing this, just a tip for jewelers, when you are measuring things out, it's always good to use your millimeters because obviously everything's super freaking tiny.
Wow.
So you would call this 25 millimeters and this 10 millimeters and this 20 millimeters. Just as like a matter of habit, get used to using millimeters instead. It totally doesn't matter here, but just like as like a practice. Awesome. So what you're gonna do is use your scribe and the ruler. And whenever you're working with silver, you always want to try and like not waste it. So use it in the most economical way possible. So maybe see if you could start one here, fitting this in this corner. So that is wide enough. So this is a nice straight edge because that's from the guillotine. And then maybe work your way from that corner and out. So mark your 2.5 and your 2 and then your curve across there, which
so
you can
2.5 across there.
Yeah, 2.5 across there. So let you do that.
Okay.
So just do a little scratch into the plastic. Over there. Yeah, just a little mark so you can see. You can go onto the plastic a bit more if you want to, just as long as you can see. Great. Yep. And then you want to measure 1 across here. Yeah, and just maybe make a mark up here because remember we're going to come down to that point a bit shorter, like go up, scratch along the, yeah, that's it. That's great. Right, so now we're going to go from here all the way to 2 along this line you've just drawn. So you want to mark your 2. Yeah, that's it. Great. Yeah, just draw it all the way up to the top.
Draw the line.
Yeah, just go for it. Perfect. And then, you know, that's your dot there. So now you're doing your kind of, let's just go with a straight, like I said, for cutting it. And then when we're filing, we can just like nip the edges off there a little bit.
So do I want to use the ruler for that?
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, and then we'll just kind of like round this off here because it's not going to be like a super sharp curve, but just kind of, we're going to round that off a bit like that. Okay. Does that look good? But if you feel like that's going to make it too short, maybe we make this line that you've drawn a bit longer.
A bit longer,
yeah.
So that it's more.
So then why don't we draw this, like kind of extend it a little bit here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So draw along there. The full length across. You don't need to scratch too hard, just as long as you can see. All the way across though. To the end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty easy if you can see. Great, and obviously extend this line all the way to the end there as well. So you can kind of see that sticking out there.
But I want to extend it to... You
want to extend it to the end of this?
there?
Yep. But don't curve it because this line needs to be straight. Does that make sense?
No.
You'll see it in a sec. Yep, great, great, great.
So I don't know if I want it to be wider, I want it to be thinner.
But when we're filing, we're going to file all of this off.
Oh, I see, okay.
So we're just making sure it's long enough to get that curve.
Oh, right.
Because we're not going to cut it, but that's going to be closer to your shape.
I see.
Cool. So next step is sawing. So here we've got what we call a piercing saw and a little blade. So if it's your first time using it, I'm going to explain how to do it. What you want to do is loosen this top screw over here and have a close look at your saw blade. And you basically want to be creating like what I call like a Christmas tree. So the teeth, so have a look at that. You can see the teeth on there.
Yeah.
So they want to be facing down and forwards. So when you run your finger down, that shouldn't hook, but when you run your finger up, then it should hook. Okay. So facing forwards, obviously, so not facing back that way. And then you hook the top of that in here and then tighten that up nice and tight. And then in the bottom one, you want to have the end of the saw blade lining up kind of to the middle or the bottom of your screw here, of your bottom one. So you can adjust that over here. I've got my little mark here, because I always keep it there. And then what you want to do is like push into it kind of over here and poke into that and then tighten it so that when you let go, it's like a guitar. So that it's nice and tight. So you want that tension, because if it's loose, then your blade's going to break. So you want that tension. So do you want to have a go and do it? So take it out and then put it back in. Okay, so take the whole thing out just so that you kind of like learn how to do it. There you go. And from scratch, place this in here just so that you can have a hand. And if you position yourself a bit so you're in front of it, so you can really like rest that on you when you're working. There we go. And the teeth are quite sharp, but trust me, they can cut.
And so they're facing...
Yep, down and forwards.
Okay.
So do the top one first. So if you put this against your chest now, then you can use 2 hands. So pop the end of the saw just underneath you there. Yeah, that's it. Now you can use both your hands to tighten this one first. Did you do that already? There you go. Fabulous. And then pop that one in there. Push into it while you're doing it. So that when you let go, then it has that tension. Yeah, that should do. Check it for guitar. Yay! Woohoo! Perfect.
Nice tune.
Perfect. Exactly. And when you run your finger up, it hooks, and down, not. Perfect. Okie dokes. Now, cutting. So I'm just going to show you kind of like when you're working with a saw, you never want to have your finger in front of it because it cuts. It looks small, but it's mighty. So you always want to have your fingers on either side. So what you also want to do is make sure that it's positioned in the most stable way on your bench peg, and so that it's not wobbling or anything like that. And you want to be kind of, your fingers kind of turn into a vice. I like to sometimes use my thumb and like pinch it. So my blade would be between there, and then I'd pinch that. And when you start with the blade at an angle like that, and you just rest it against, and then you gently pull down just so that it hooks. Then you want to have the blade straight up like this, and you cut nice long what do you call those? Strokes, that's the word. So you want to pull nice long strokes, pull the full length of your blade when you're cutting, like that, and adjust if you need to, so that the thing you're cutting is always nice and stable. When you're starting on the tip here, it's going to be a little tricky, because obviously it's kind of, it's going to want to slide a bit. So what I do is I rest my fingernail just in front of where I'm going to cut, and then I kind of pull down on that just to get the hook in, so that I can then go from there. So I'm going to hand this over to you, and then you can go. What you also want to do is cut 1 millimeter outside the line, because then we're going to file it to the line. So then you see your line of what we're aiming towards. But if you cut on the line, then you're going to have to file it smaller, and then you're not going to have anything to base it off, and you know if it's straight or not. So I would suggest, yeah, cutting either down here first and then across there. So we'll do 2 cuts, there and then there. And yeah, have a go.
Okay. Okay, so...
Also see where you are on the bench peg. There's no gap here. So you want to be lining up whatever you're cutting with the gap in the bench peg.
Okay.
So that you're cutting the air rather than the peg.
Right. So that too close?
Yeah, that's too close.
There?
Yeah, that looks good. So I would put your fingernail, see how it slips? Put your fingernail like just
Really
in front
close.
where you're going to cut, and it kind of leans against it.
Ah, I see.
And then use these other fingers as a grip. Mind that finger there. If that's on the line, it's in danger. And then without pushing hard, because if you push hard, then it doesn't cut. And that's it. And then just gently, don't push hard. And then that's it. And then straighten up your blade. That's it.
Okay, so
I would
it's
uncross
quite
your legs.
far away from the...
And sit a bit straighter. Yeah, so that's okay. Just try and angle a little bit more towards it as you're going. But if you twist it suddenly, it'll snap. So when you're pushing as well, see how it hooks? Don't push, because it's more about just the motion of going up and down. So just relax into it. And I'm going to let go of the sheet. Lovely. And try and straighten your blade so that it's upright. Rather than that, you want it upright like that. Do it slowly, as you're cutting, rather. Without pushing. Try and be a little bit more relaxed and gentle with it. There you go. Lovely. So see there, stop a sec. You see all the sawdust? Just exactly what you did. Move it forward a bit so you're not cutting the bench peg.
And then I can do that.
And you can blow it off a bit so that you can see where you're going.
So So why do we want the blade to be straight?
Because it just gives you a much nicer, clean cut underneath, so it's less
I see.
uneven.
Oh, I see. So it's better to cut it straight than at an angle.
Yeah, you want it to be straight.
Okay, so now I'm there.
Okay, so now you need to go a little further because remember we want the millimeter extra. Check you're cutting a bench peg. Scooch back a bit.
All these little things.
Yeah, and try not to twist or wiggle the blade if it hooks. Then rather let it go a bit.
It's gone a bit skew.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. That's great. Okay, we're going to just take that blade out of here because I'm not going to show you how to turn just yet. That's for another workshop.
That's a whole thing.
So now you're going to need to balance this out. So a lot of pressure over here and cut just outside your line over there. Okay. So first of all, put the blade, and then you hop over like that. That's it. Okay. Remember, cut just outside your line. So give yourself a little bit more space there. And don't push, just gently try and pull down at an angle to start. It always hooks a little bit, there you go. That's it. And then straighten up your blade when you can, and do nice long strokes without pushing. It should be like butter. You don't want to be using your strength here. You can use your strength for filing later. See, nice.
If you relax more, it's much easier.
Exactly. I'm just going to hold this because there's a really big piece of sheet here. Yeah, nice gentle strokes, does the trick. Beautiful.
See how you can get better at it.
Yeah, so see now how it's attached on the top? It's cut through, but on the bottom it's not because your blade's not straight. So just straighten up that blade and do the last little snip. There you go, you got it. Fabulous.
Wow, so
there you go. So what we're going to do is we are going to file this one up and everything, but we need to cut another one. So we are going to redraw your second one. I'm going to draw your second one and then cut that one out, and then we'll work with them together. Okay, so we've cut the one here, as you can see. So Shani was just asking if we can just use this to trace the next one, but we can't use this one right now because obviously we've cut and it's kind of like, it's not super straight. So there's two ways we can do it. One is to draw the template on the paper, but then and then use that paper as a template, which is a good idea, which we could have done that. But also because it's literally two simple lines, and you know how to draw it now, you may as well just draw it straight onto the metal. I personally prefer that option because with a paper, then it moves a little bit, and if it's a simple design, I'll just go straight into the metal. Because this plastic cover on here, you're going to take it off anyway, so all those scratches, it's totally fine. But if it's a more complicated design, then you can draw your design on the paper and then use double-sided tape to stick that to your sheet and then cut that out from there. But if it's simple enough, then we can just go like this. So yeah, she's just redrawing the next one. And check where you started drawing it, because are you saving metal? Are you doing it in the most economical place where you're drawing it? Show me.
So this is round 2.
So remember, what you want to do is, if it's on a sharp corner, put your nail. Remember the nail trick? So put your nail in front and rest the blade against your nail with your 1 millimeter gap. And without pushing against it, just gently try and pull it down, because the force hooks rather than cuts. There you go. Let's try and keep this nice. So I think give yourself a little bit longer because you can't see now where you're cutting. Stop. You're cutting way away now because you can't see. So use your grip, your vice grip on that side rather, until you have a bit more space to grab. See? So that's good, that's fine. So what happened there was you were trying to push too hard, so then it snaps, or you were trying to twist it to loosen it. So that's a very common mistake in the beginning.
I was trying to twist
it. So this is a good thing to explain. So the reason the blade broke is because this way it's wider than it is this way. So when it cuts, it makes the gap that's this thin as this. So when you try and twist it, there's no space. And obviously it's in metal, so it just literally just snaps. Because they are quite fragile. Sure, they can cut you, but they're quite fragile. It's all good. You get to practice putting a new blade in.
Okay.
Take that one out.
Great.
So this is why we buy big packs of blades. All good. Ooh. And here's a new one for you. It's right, just chuck it in there, that's fine.
Okay.
So underneath here we've got a skin, which we call a skin. Mine's just fabric. Mine's vegan.
No skins.
No skins involved. No animals were harmed. And yeah, it just kind of catches everything in there. So that is fine to drop things in there. Yeah, so remember, attach the top one first. Make sure you have your Christmas tree. Did you check for Christmas tree? Yep, that looks good. And then push against. Yep, that's great. Not too tight, I'll never undo it again. Great, that's perfect.
It's me.
You're very strong. And check for guitar. Fabulous. You've cut out your shapes, what we need to do is file them, because obviously when you're cutting it doesn't leave a really nice straight line, and that is normal. So then your next step is to file. So when you're filing, you want to hold it kind of like this in your finger, so you're kind of pinching it in a secure way if you don't have a ring clamp, which we do. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So what we're going to do is to take this out here. So open it out, and then on the flat side, there's a rounded side and a flat side. You can put it in here and then clamp it, but this side's already straight, pretty much from the guillotine. So we're going to start with one of the other sides, and then we will file that side too, but just to kind of get you going. And then put that in there, and then warn your neighbors. Bang. And then hold this underneath the bench peg so that you have that stability. So you're pushing up against it, and then you want to be filing across diagonally. So if you go like this, straight, it hooks, this tip hooks on the end always, and it doesn't want to go, and or otherwise, if it starts going, it's because you're rounding this edge off. So that's why you want to go diagonally across like this, and you'll see like there's different facets. Can you see how the light shines differently on there? Because that's obviously uneven.
It's wobbly, yeah.
And you want to check your line there. So you want to be filing up to that line. So keep going. And just find a place where it feels stable and comfortable for you. Maybe it's on the side. And then push. This is where you push harder. So this is where you get to use your muscles. And push across sideways. When you go backwards, it just kind of swims and doesn't do much. It's the going forward that does the trick. So have a go with that. I'll uncross your legs so that you have more space. And yes, and then try and keep it nice and straight. That's it. And careful, stop a sec. So I can see already, like, you're angling it like this. So you're making a groove there. You want to really try and not have much wrist action. Nice and straight. Exactly, your wrist doesn't move. Much, much better. And when you go, you kind of want to kind of work your way kind of from there, whoop up. Whoop with the length of the file.
I see.
Whoop, like that. Yes, exactly. And you can push it a little bit harder. And you also want to be making sure you're not angling your file too much like this or like this, because then you're going to angle the metal like that. So kind of lower down your wrist a little bit, because I can kind of see that you're kind of starting to create an angle like that. That's much better. That's it. See how you've already got rid of those facets there?
It goes quite quickly.
It goes quite quickly because that's quite a coarse file. But just check your line, because maybe you're there, maybe you're not there. Check it out.
Nearly.
Nearly. Okay, good. Keep going a little bit more until you reach that line. Yeah, and you can push a little bit harder. With a file, the harder you push, the better. With a saw, the harder you push, the worse.
Got it the wrong way around.
Exactly.
Push when I don't need to.
You've gotten used
Sounds
to...
just like my relationships. Don't push enough when I need to.
Yeah. Lessons for life, huh?
Oh, well. Now that I can make jewellery, maybe I can make a relationship work.
Exactly. Now you've learned to be gentle when you need to, and to be strong when you need to. Exactly.
Not just a jewellery lesson.
Not just a jewellery lesson.
Got it?
I miss in-person classes because it's just like we have such a laugh. Yes, let's give it a little tap off, and yeah, that looks pretty good.
Okay,
So
now-
take it out, switch it around.
This looks like a boot thing.
A boot thing.
I think that you use in boot. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, now change it around.
Alright.
Get your next angle. So when you're putting it in, you want to avoid like having, like if that's it there, you don't want to have it sticking up a lot like this, because it's going to wiggle. You want it to be quite close to where the clamp clamps. To where the clamp clamps. Yes, exactly.
Supposed to be the clamp clamps.
Yes, that's it. And then you need this guy. Stick him in there and then give it a whack on the bottom. Mind your neighbours. There you go. And off you go. Fab. You really did a pretty good job with cutting that. It's really not a lot to file at all. See how it's wiggling quite a lot there? Because you're holding it quite high up. So I would hold it a bit closer, further down. Basically, you always want to be making stability. It just makes everything so much easier when it's nice and stable. So, yes.
Sure, this is not therapy.
I literally was thinking like, damn. Can be as well. I have many talents. I do cover mindset in my one-to-one, actually.
Right.
Right.
You got the mindset?
You have got a great mindset. Yes. Yes.
Just
I would go
a little bit
tiny
further.
bit more. You can see you just a little bit more behind there. Yeah, it's looking good. You there?
Yeah, I think so.
Great.
That'll
Great,
do.
great, great. Okay. Pop that out. Right, so to take off the plastic here where you had your line, you can just, a little trick is to just dig your nail. If it's not sticking out like this, obviously you can grab it, you can dig your nail and literally just pull down, it'll come off. But there is a little bit there, so you can just peel that off. We've already taken it off this one. And as you can feel, that tip is super freaking sharp because obviously you've just sharpened a piece of metal. So what we want to do, not only with the edge that we're going to curve, you want to like round off this tip as well a bit.
Yeah,
so,
that needs rounding off.
Yeah, you also want to make sure that you're going to have space for the hole that you're going to drill.
Oh, right.
So you kind of want to round this off a bit. So I'm going to give you a little needle file for that.
So you wouldn't use that?
No, because it's going to hook a lot because it's very coarse. So it's going to hook a lot on that tip.
Yeah.
It's going to be... So you use the one that's a bit smaller. And then, where's your side? There. Then you can just hold that by hand. And then just your right hand, the one with the file, just kind of follows the shape you want to go. So have a go with that. It'll hook at first, but then you'll get it and then it'll be all right. And so it's a good practice to try and do it over here so that you're not covering yourself in stuff. But
so do I don't want to make this too round though, do I?
No, you kind of want to, I'll show you with this one. You kind of want to just get the main tip off. Really? Like that. Yeah, so you see, you kind of want to mainly be taking the top off, but you don't want it to just be flat. Does that make sense?
Right.
So you want to just get like the bits, and then you maybe want to turn it around because you didn't go completely like that, but
No.
you just want to kind of be lowering that down a bit. I'm kind of doing that for you.
Oh, turn around that way, okay.
Yeah, because obviously it's not going to be the same on either side because your hand moves in a certain way. It's going to reach naturally to that point, but then you want it to be even. Yeah, spend more time kind of like on the toppy bit, but kind of like... See, because a lot of that you're not actually touching. So just kind of, see my kind of range?
Ooh.
And then I'm kind of like getting that little bit there.
Okay, yeah.
Just kind of where it
now.
looks. Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I did this one for you.
That's fine.
You don't need it to be too much, but just so it's not too sharp, but you still maintain the shape. So that it's not like, you know, it doesn't look the shape you wanted it to look. Yay.
Needs to be a bit more round?
Kind of a bit like this one, so it's kind of a bit bigger.
Right.
Because otherwise what happens is either you need to drill the hole quite far down,
Right.
because there's not enough width in the metal to drill the hole, which then means you need a big jump ring to go around the whole thing, or the tip of it keeps hooking in the jump ring, so when it wiggles it doesn't move freely. So you want to have, in the jump ring, you want to have like a limited space, like a smaller space between that and the jump ring, so you can make a smaller jump ring, which makes it look a bit nicer because you don't want a huge big ring there on the end of like a little earring hook. So it kind of just has more movement if it's smaller, not hooking in the jump ring. That makes sense? How's that coming on?
Just needs to go this side quickly.
Can you move in a bit? Even with your chair, maybe? There you go. Yeah, so you can turn it around, yeah, exactly. And just come from both sides and just take that sharpness off that.
And then I can kind of choose how round I want it to be.
Yes, exactly. Now you get to play with your creativity. See how you want it to look. Obviously, kind of, it's good to kind of like look at it, like stop and have a good look at it.
And see if you like it.
If you're liking the overall shape of it. Yeah, I think that's looking really nice.
And then I can kind of do this one as well.
Yeah, if you want to, yeah. Just take the sharpness off. I wouldn't go too much because I quite like the kind of wingy sort of shape you got going there.
I quite like that. It's like just a little dragonfly wing.
I need to kind of move so that you can see.
Yeah, I really like that little. So you take some off the top, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's looking great.
Does it matter if you scratch the...
Yeah, you want to avoid scratching the metal because obviously that's just more work for you to clean up afterwards. So, yeah, I always usually hold my fingers, the fingers that are holding the piece, quite close to the tip when I'm doing that because it slips.
Then you avoid...
Yeah, then you avoid slipping and scratching it. These are all the things that, like, obviously when I'm teaching someone, I kind of remember, like, oh yeah, but when I'm doing it myself...
it's just second nature.
Normal. Yeah, so used to doing it that I wouldn't mention that. But it's kind of nice having you here and explaining all of those things. Yeah, that's looking great.
I have to say, after doing this, I can really understand why jewellery, especially handmade jewellery, is the price that it is.
Totally, right?
Yeah.
It's just like...
There's a lot of, like, time that goes into it.
Yeah, and, like, the skills that it takes to, you know, to do that. Like, at first, obviously, it takes a bit longer, then it gets easier. But still, nevertheless, you still have to go through all of those steps that you just went through to make it.
Yeah, exactly. And there's lots of small little details and everything takes time.
Yep.
It doesn't just happen.
Yep, exactly. It's so funny. Every time I do a workshop, literally everyone has that realization. They're like, oh yeah, now I get it.
That's why it's that price.
Yeah. It's not like, especially like if it's just made like one of a kind as well, you have to think of the design, you have to come up with different things, and you have to try some samples. You know, usually when I would do this workshop in person, the person would do them in copper or brass first, just as a sample to test them out, and you can play around with different textures and things. But yeah, we didn't do that today, but you can do that just to kind of get an idea, especially when you're learning the technique. To soar. Exactly. So yeah. Right, what do you think? Those looking good?
Yeah, I love it.
Okay, great. So next step, you see how it's got a sharpness to the edges. If you run your finger along the edge, so you'll see here, it's sharp. So that's from the file because it pushes the metal out. So what we're going to do now is get the sandpaper on my little stick here. And so I've wrapped a 600 grit sandpaper around a little triangular stick here. And then what you want to do now, again, fingers quite close to the edge so that you don't slip and scratch it, because this is already like a nice finish. So we want to go at an angle, so obviously not on the hooky part, at an angle, so you see there, so I'm getting off that sharpness without touching the surface. You see how it makes that little like bit of flake there? You want to just get that off. So you want to rub it along that one there and see how that falls off.
Ooh, that's very satisfying.
And then same on the other side and also along the top.
Okay.
So you see how you'll have the file marks now. So you want to run along with this until you don't see those file marks anymore. And yeah, keep your fingers to protect your surface all the way around both of them. Fab.
We've got like all levels of sandpaper in here.
Yeah. So yeah, on that stick you can wrap any grit you like, but it's 600 I find is really nice just for finishing these kind of edges. So again, the same as the file, try and use the full length of the sandpaper rather than, because otherwise every time you do it, you're just doing like a teeny tiny little bit. So you want to try and use that full length every time. Exactly.
Okay.
I'm going to come in a bit closer. Yeah. So if you don't have a little wooden stick like that, you can just use a piece of sandpaper and fold it in half, and then you can just kind of curve it around your finger and then just do it like that. So just make sure you go the same angles like that and like that, and go all the way around. But yeah, thank you. Always the final check is just run your finger and see. So most of those feel good except for here. I feel a little bit of sharpness here. So I'll just run over that one. That. Because obviously when you're wearing it, you don't want to have this little sharp bit that's irritating.
Oh, right.
Or like scratchy or something.
No.
These are the finer details one needs to take care of.
You don't want any scratchiness. And it's stuff that you can actually see.
Yeah.
You don't think it's so tiny, so you won't think you'll see it, but actually you can see it.
You can, but it's even like the feeling is more annoying. Like, you know, if you go to the dentist and there's like a little tiny bit of something that you're like, they're like, what? Where? I can't see. And you're like, trust me, it feels huge. I can feel it. Yeah. So when you drill, what you want to make sure is that you make a little groove where the drill's going to go, where the drill bit goes, or it's going to swim around like this and go like, where do I go? And make a mess of your thing. So we are going to take our scribe. I'm going to hand that to you. And the hammer. And just line up a little where you want it and give it quite a gentle little tuck. So I don't go too hard because it will kind of bend the whole metal because this is 0.5. So it's quite
literally
thin.
just to mark it.
Literally just a little, which will happen like literally like that, okay? So I would suggest, I feel like I should do this in front of the camera, like where. Yeah. So in terms of like where to do it, really you want to try and go as close as you can up to the top here so that you're not too far down, so you don't have to have too big a jump ring. So, great. Yeah, you could push a tiny bit harder, but as long as it's made a little groove, you're good.
I can see where it is.
You can see it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we have the drill. So first of all, safety.
Very excited to wear these.
Some goggles.
Yes, finally
Okay,
my look is complete.
Yes. And now, because this is quite big, you can hold this here. So we want to position this underneath here. Use your 2 fingers to push down it. And then use this to kind of find where it is. And then switch on here. So you want to switch on, drill, up, off. Okay, so...
And where do I switch it on to?
Just to just the first one here.
Oh, right.
Okay?
Okay.
And keep this nice and steady. And line that up. Yeah.
So I have to stand up to do it.
I think it's probably better to stand up. Yes, let's move that chair.
Okay.
It's a bit of a crazy drill. And up, and then let go, and off. Beautiful.
Wow. That's
Fabulous.
very exciting.
Okay, let's assess the second one.
I could see how it almost slipped there.
Yeah.
So if you don't get it on the little dot.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's perfect. That's great. Okay. Well done. Awesome.
So you only need just tiny holes.
Only tiny holes, yes. Okay, so now you've got your little holes, that's great, and you've smoothed everything off. You can look at the surface, the finish of it, and see if you like that. Usually it's good to give it a little brush up, either to have like a satin finish, so you can use steel wool. So we've got here steel wool for like cleaning things, which is quadruple grade 0 fine, so not the same stuff that you would use in the kitchen on your pots. No. So you can take this and then give it a nice little rub all over. It's good to do this over here because all of these bits of metal on here gets a bit prickly. So give that a good rub over, and that's kind of like a nice satin finish. Or if you want to, you can take sandpaper and then work your way up. So starting from 600, then an 800, 1,000, 1,200 if you want, to make it nice and shiny. So yeah, you can rub that along there. If you are doing that with this, put it on there, use my finger and kind of like rub it up and down.
And that makes it super shiny.
Makes it super shiny, but we're a bit pressed for time today, so we're just going to go with a satin finish.
Okay.
And it's one of my favorite finishes, to be honest. So
it's kind of like a matte finish, isn't it? It's quite nice. Well,
exactly.
not matte, but yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of matte. So it's quite, if there aren't any like prominent scratches on it, which you don't have because you didn't like skip or scratch anything anywhere, then it just kind of gives it a nice sheen.
Yeah, that needs a bit more, but
no, I think that's fine. And you'll see like how the different angles you do with the steel wool, they'll kind of
you
show.
can see the
so
lines,
if you want to go straight, or if you want to kind of do circles, like I think for this, because it's straight, I would kind of go straight personally, but it's personal preference really. And that looks great.
Yeah, you can see the lines of the wool. That's cool.
Yeah, but they're kind of quite subtle, so it's not like too much. So next we're going to make some hooks. Okay, so now we are going to make earring hooks for your lovely earrings. Beautiful. So I have got 0.8 mil wire here, silver wire, and it's hard wire. So there's soft, which means it's been annealed. So you want the hard one because it's got more flexibility and stays in shape better.
For earrings.
For earrings, yeah. So for earrings, you shouldn't go any thicker, standard, like than 0.8. And remember, our hole was 1 mil, so that gives us wiggle room so they can move around on there and they're not totally snug. So that's what we want. And so in terms of tools, we need round nose pliers. I'm going to give you those. And we're going to need these pointy nose pliers as well. And we're going to need the flat nose pliers as well. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you on a piece of copper what to do. Okay, so I'm going to give you the silver wire because you're going to do it there. And I'm going to show you how to do it out of the copper. So first of all, we're going to cut the length we want. So we're going to do short little hooks. You think that looks better rather than longer hooks?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we've agreed those are going to look good. So we are going to grab our ruler and we're going to cut 5 centimeters from here.
Okay.
And
so you must measure.
So
it's not like Jamie Oliver cooking.
Not like Jamie Oliver
or
cooking.
Just it's not like cooking.
I mean, if
you just throw it in.
If you're only going to make one, you could just wing it, but because you want 2 the same, it's helpful to measure. Okay. So measure that and cut a piece of that off yourself.
And if it's not straight, do I have to kind of like
hold it
straight?
Flatten it along the length of the ruler so that you can see that. And
so I just chop it?
Yep, snip. Great, fab.
There's a lot of satisfying things happening.
A lot of satisfying sounds. Okay, perfect. You can pop that ruler down, and then we've each got our piece. Okay, and you're going to take your round nose pliers. So grab your round nose pliers, and I've got my round nose pliers. And what we're going to do is to go on the end. So as you can see on the round nose pliers, as you can see on the round nose pliers, it goes narrower and narrower to the end. So over here is where you get to make a decision of how big you want that jump ring that's going to go in there to be. Okay. So have a look here and you'll see, okay, there's like that much space, so it can't be super tiny. It needs to encompass that whole bit from top to bottom there.
Right.
So we're going to kind of go, like I'm going to go say like middle would be good, and you want to put the end flush against the end, and you want the curve of your wire, because you've got a bit of a curve in yours, so we're going to go with that, facing down.
Ah, I see.
Okay, facing down and flush against here. Okay,
see this.
So that's sideways rather than down, so you want your curve, oh no, sorry.
That's down.
No, it's not. So if you're holding the pliers like this, then you want it down. Sorry, I didn't explain that very well.
Okay.
Exactly, so with the curve facing down,
so
perfect.
The curve is down.
Perfect, and then finger, that's flush against there. And then you're going to take your thumb and you're going to push it against the pliers, and at the same time you're going to twist that hand. So you're making a loop. So on the wire, and keep your thumb on the wire and keep twisting as far as you can go, and then stop when you can't anymore. And some people can go all the way. I think I don't have great flexibility because I take mine out, like turn the pliers around and continue that circle so that it joins, and remember to put it in the same spot again so that it touches the end there. So you close that circle. Perfect. That's it. Don't go, stop them. You're going too far.
Oh, have I gone too? Oh, yes. Oh, dear.
Yeah. It's okay. Let's see if we can take it off. Let's see if Lego. Lego. So we're going to try. The thing with wire is once it's bent one way, it doesn't really like
to be unbent.
But let's
because it might break.
No, it just looks kinky.
I like a bit of kink.
Well, then you'll be alright.
So I did that on purpose.
Lols. Okay, we can work with that. And so we're just going to continue closing that circle there. Like my ply is a bit smaller than yours, so I have to go further up. So just till the point like that.
Oh, right.
Okay?
So you just make a circle.
Just to make a circle.
I know this kinky business.
None of this kinky business. What are you on about? Okay, so grab that. And now we're going to switch out your round nose pliers for your pointy nose pliers, which are these guys here.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to take those and grab the long bit of the wire inside the circle. Right close up to the top of the circle.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
We're close all the way up to the top of the circle there.
Oh, that's the top
That's
of the
the top of the circle.
See, circles
Circles.
have tops and bottoms,
Tops,
do they?
apparently they do. In this case, they do. And then push your thumb
Yes.
just a tiny bit, because you basically, look, you want to create like a,
Oh, I
it
see
to
a
come
little...
up. You want to like make that
Oh, I
come
see.
up from that. The circle, your little ring might open a bit, but that's okay. So keep that pinched, and always you want to push right against the pliers. Never push from here, because it's just going to bend randomly. Push against your pliers,
right, okay.
just a little smidge. Keep going, keep going, keep going. That's looking great until you think it's coming up the middle. Tiny bit more. That's beautiful.
I see.
Beautiful.
You're making like a little curtain hook.
Exactly. Yes. So if it opened a bit, that's totally fine. We can just go and close that afterwards. And we are going to open that anyway afterwards to put your earring in. So that is all good. So we're not going to worry about that. Okay, yours is fine. You're good. You're good. Leave it at that.
Okay.
That's perfect. Okay. Now we are going to grab this little dowel over here. And we are going to use this. So see now how you've got an open side and a closed side. So you want the open side facing down, so that the front of your earring is nice and smooth and closed. If you did it this way, you'd have that open bit in the front of your hook, and you don't want that. So now we're going to create the shape of it. So I put that in the middle of the stick with the curve facing down like that. And then on either side, I'm going to grab my two fingers and I'm going to push against the dowel and squish them together. Don't worry too much if this moves a little bit, because we can just grab the pliers afterwards and wiggle it. I could do that with my hands because it's copper. But you want to
create a little wiggle.
Give it a little wiggle. So there you want to create that shape. If you push more on one side than the other, it's obviously going to take more of the metal from that side, so it will make that side a bit shorter. So that is...
Okay, so more or less there.
Yeah, that looks good. And then push down close as you can to the dowel as soon as your thumb's out of the way. That's it. Keep going and stop. That looks great.
I have quite a big thumb.
Yeah, that's all right. Perfect.
Might not be exactly in the middle though.
That's okay, don't worry. Okay, great, that's lovely. And we can always just tweak this with like flat pliers, just to give it a little wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Make sure that from front, it's all in line. So that looks great. Now last trick, take that, and I'm gonna grab mine.
You know which song I'm thinking of, don't you?
A little wiggle, wiggle.
No, I don't. Oh, my money don't jiggle, jiggle.
Jiggle, jiggle. Oh,
It
yes.
folds. I like to see you wiggle, wiggle, for sure.
So pick up your earring hook, and we're gonna take not your dowel, because that's not gonna do the trick. Pointy nose pliers, and we're gonna grab the end just like that, sideways. So just grab like kind of a little bit, little way up, because this is gonna make that flick up, so that you can easily insert it in your ear. So I'd go just tiny bit down on your thing. There you go, and flush against the bottom there. And then you kind of got to get your finger behind here, so the tip of your thumb, and just give it a little tweak.
Oh, that way.
Yeah, just a little flick up. However is easy for you to hold it. And then on the inside, you want to, you kind of get the tip of your thumb under here and just give that a little push up. So push that towards me. But you good. The way you had it was fine.
I'm having just a bit of a moment of dyslexia here.
Yeah. And like that. Exactly. That's it. And then push up against up against the pliers. Beautiful.
Oh,
just you see the little flick.
More flick?
More flick. A tiny bit more flick. Fab. Just, you know how, so like just when you put it in your ear.
Oh, it doesn't,
You know, it doesn't matter too much. Just like a little bit of easy. Because obviously the earring's going to be there rather than trying to get it like straight. Beautiful. Fantastic. So what we're going to do.
That's like a
Obviously we make the other one, but let's just show you how to put this one on. We're going to open up the hook sideways. I'll let you do that one, sorry. So we're going to open up the hook sideways. So when you have a jump ring, this is basically a jump ring. If I were to pull it this way, it's going to misshape that circle and you'll never get it back easily. So you're going to open it sideways, like that.
Should I be using these?
Yes, those are good, yeah.
Okay, but not too much, right?
Yeah, just enough so that you can now put this on. So pop that on. Check if it has a different direction you want it to face, obviously, because this is the front of the earring hook here. Lovely. And then pop it on and then close it.
Cute.
Yay! So make sure that it's closed on top. So what you might want to do is move the earring to the side a bit, like this. So kind of grab it in your hand and then squeeze it from on top, like really on top, and just give it a gentle little squish so that that closes. Right from on top, that's why it's going to move if you go sideways somewhere. Right from on top and underneath, just a gentle little squish. Like that, so it doesn't come out.
Hold on. So...
yeah, make sure the earring's out of the way. Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. Beautiful. Fabulous. So that hole's closed so that if it's moving around, it's totally not going to fall out. Ta-da! How pretty are those? The light catches them so nicely.
Oh, yay!
It's so good. So good. Beautiful.
I'm really happy with those.
Yay. So there's one last thing to do, which is take the sandpaper and just sand the edge of this, because this is going to be sharp and you don't want to cut your ear. So you want to just give that a little rounded all the way around on there. Have a go with that. And then you're done.
And then we'll put a...
yeah, obviously we're going to make your second one and put your silver one on there. Yay.
Is that good?
Yeah, as long as it's to touch, like you'll feel if it hooks or not. Well, that's it for this week. So I really hope you enjoyed making your own sterling silver earrings and being guided through step by step. In the next lesson, we're going to learn how to make a sterling silver ring. So I hope you join me for that. And I hope you enjoyed meeting lovely Sean. Thank you so much for joining me. Did you enjoy your earrings?
It was really fun.
Yay!
I love my new little earrings.
So beautiful. So if you want to find out more about Sean, she's an amazing yoga teacher. What's your Instagram? Where can they connect with you?
So you just look for Sean Yoga, SJAAN Yoga.
Yay! So yeah, we'll put her details in the description as well. Look forward to seeing you next time. Till then, have a beautiful time. Bye!